Thank you all for coming this morning. I'm State Representative Joe Atkins. I represent Inver Grove Heights in the Minnesota House. The purpose of our legislation is to prevent, or let me try that one more time. We're introducing legislation today that will provide common sense measures to prevent scams that target Minnesota seniors. One of the common denominators that we have found in scams that target Minnesota seniors is the use of wire transactions, where folks are asked to wire money. The reason for that is because oftentimes those wire transactions can be picked up somewhere other than where you sent them. So for example, you might be thinking that you're wiring money to an injured grandchild in New York City, and in fact the money's being picked up in New Jersey or in Florida or someplace abroad, which used to happen with even greater common feature. But the point is that now under one of the provisions in the bill, and there's several, but one of the common sense features is that if a person wires money to a location and it's being picked up someplace other than where they sent it, that sender will be notified. So if you send it to New York and in fact it's being picked up in New Jersey, the sender will be notified. Now, why would that be important? The reason that's important is because that when you send it and you think it's going to New York, if it's being picked up by a crook, by a scammer someplace else, it allows that scammer to avoid being detected where they're seeking to pick up the money. So all it says is that you get notified as the sender that it's being picked up someplace else, and then you can still allow that transfer to go through, but you have the power yet to determine whether or not that takes place. Special Agent Art will talk about why that's important. We'll get to him in just a moment, but I want to have Senator Bonoff also talk about some provisions in the bill, and I believe a personal story that she's got.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Representative Atkins, for bringing this forward, and a special thank you to AARP for what they're doing on behalf of our seniors. You know, this bill really is about the people we love, and when you think about the referred name as a granny scam, you have to think about your own family. And so I thought about my oldest son. His name is Joseph Bonoff Paulson, and he's named after my dad's dad. And I think because of that, he and my dad are unbelievably close. He lives in Washington, D.C., but he calls my dad once or twice a week and tells him everything. So when I want to know what's going on with him, I call my dad. And I'm telling you, if something happened where he called my dad and said, I need X, my dad would find money no matter what, no matter how much he asked for, and it would be wired tomorrow. And then you know what? If that didn't, go to him and 3 weeks later the same thing happened, my dad might forget and say, really this is about protecting our parents, our grandparents from making sure that they're not taken advantage of in their vulnerable times. And so that's not the only thing that happens. You'll hear about other scams where wire fraud is committed, and this bill is an attempt to stop them all and really to say that we aren't going to tolerate that and we're going to protect our seniors. So I think you'll appreciate hearing a little detail from somebody who actually had this happen to someone they cared very deeply about.
And folks, next we'll turn it over to Commissioner Mike Rothman, Commissioner of the Department of Commerce. He'll be followed by Special Agent Arlt, retired, and then finally we've got a person who's been scammed. So, Commissioner.
I'm not sure if I should step here or here. Anyway, I'll be this tall. Anyway, I really want to thank Representative Atkins and Senator Bonoff and AARP, and then Mr. Arlt, all the seniors that are focused on this issue. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out to speak to consumer groups. I can think of one that's particularly relevant for this morning. Last year, I was speaking with Skip Humphrey, and we were at the Minnetonka Police Department. And we had a group of 75 seniors. And after the event, there were at least 10, 15 that came up to me and said, I have a story to tell you, and they brought me their paperwork, and invariably, it'll be somebody, a senior, who picked up the phone and had somebody say their name, and then in response, the senior says, "Is this Joe?" And they say, "Oh, yeah, this is Joe. Well, I'm in trouble, and I need my money or need some money to get me out of jail or do this or that. I'm in trouble." And what the next thing will happen is that that person will, the grandmother or the grandfather will send that money to somebody, and it's just a total ripoff. And it's because seniors have, the way that you think about it this way, seniors have 70% of the wealth in the United States today. It'll be transferred to the next generation, and criminals know it. The other problem is that seniors have diminished capacity and diminished hearing. My hearing is going to as well. But what the problem is that they are very susceptible to the scam artists, and that's what it is. It's not just, you know, a one-off incident, but there's actual organized criminal activity that we're here to stop. And I'm glad to see the legislation will give us greater authority to help and to stop these criminals. And I can't thank the authors enough for introducing and sponsoring this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stand here. Yeah. My name is Jim Arlt. I'm a retired senior special agent from the Department of Public Safety for the state of Minnesota. I served in law enforcement for the citizens of Minnesota over 33 years. And I want to tell you that this particular crime, targeting our senior citizens, is the most underreported crime that I saw in 33 years. We were advised by other law enforcement who deal with this on a regular basis prior to me getting involved in 2007 that this crime is reported at about a 5% rate. 5%, 1 out of 20. Of those, about half of the victims will lie about losing money. The reason? Embarrassment. Nobody likes to believe and say and admit that they've been the victim of a crime, especially one where they made a decision to send the money. But all of our seniors at some point, and those younger, are susceptible. It only depends on how sophisticated the crime is when it's presented to them, maybe the medicines that they have just recently taken, or maybe emotional things that have occurred in their life. Our program started in 2007. By the time that I retired in early 2012, we had received over 100,000 complaints. The last 2 years, we were documented reported losses of $4 to $5 million a year from senior citizens, mainly here in Minnesota. The Federal Trade Commission has just said that the Jamaican lottery scam is basically about $1 billion a year crime from our senior citizens across the United States. This is a serious, serious crime. It affects our seniors terribly. It affects their families, and it affects the state of Minnesota. I am very surprised. I am very grateful that we have this legislation here in front of us, and that we will hopefully move forward and do something about it. Thank you very much.
My name is Peggy Heaston Harry, and I'm an AARP member from Duluth. I am here to tell my family's story about wire transfer fraud, a story that happens all too often across the state of Minnesota. On behalf of AARP, I would like first to thank Representative Joe Atkins, Senator Terri Bonoff, and Commissioner Mike Rothman for listening to these stories and acting. You are providing the leadership we need to help stop wire transfer fraud, a devastating crime that caught my mother. Over a period of 10 days in June of 2010, my mother, who lives only on a very small pension and Social Security, was coerced into sending $47,000, which included $10,000 cash, to a Jamaican scam. How did this happen? A phone call from Jamaica advised her that she had won $2.5 million and a Mercedes-Benz. Several calls later, she was convinced to send money for shipping the car. During that period of the next 10 days, the calls kept coming, becoming more demanding and more personalized. They somehow knew that church was important to her, and the caller claimed to be a minister. The caller gained her trust and coached her about exactly where to go to obtain cash advances on her zero-balance credit cards. They walked her through exactly how to wire money. She had never wired money before in her life. They told her to go to Kmart and Super One in West Duluth, near her home, to wire it. It was incredibly easy. Not once was she stopped along the way. At one point, she actually withdrew $10,000 cash, put it in an envelope, and traveled across town to send it. Before we knew it, she had maxed out 2 zero-balance credit cards and went into severe credit card debt. What we know now is that the scams stem from a hotbed of illegal criminal activity that targets older Minnesotans. These fraudsters either seduce vulnerable citizens to send money for promised goods or winnings that do not exist, or they convince them that their grandchildren or loved ones are in danger and need them to wire money. Most people don't report this kind of crime. In fact, experts say that only about 5% of the crimes are reported. It's too embarrassing, and law enforcement can do little to stop it. Minnesota needs to pass this bill to better protect its most vulnerable citizens, our elders. For our family, it was a year of heartbreak as we tried to help Mom. My mother, at age 83, had to file bankruptcy as her interest alone on her credit card debt was more than her income. We realized that there was very little we could do. We contacted the FBI, the Secret Service, Homeland Security, Duluth Police, Postmaster General, Attorney General, and the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. The only help we received was from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. Both my mother and I attended an ARP Fraud Fighters Forum in November 2010 in Duluth, where we heard about ARP. The Attorney General and investigator Jim Arlt talked about fraud. When he spoke about victims exactly like my mom, I realized we were not alone. Too many seniors across our state have lost their life savings. They feel so much shame, and they isolate themselves and suffer alone. Our seniors deserve more protection from fraud. Our taxpayers deserve it, too, because millions of hard-earned dollars are wired down the drain every year. We need to be leaders by passing this legislation, and in doing so, provide a strong example of taxpayer protection against our vulnerable citizens. Our elders have worked hard, paid taxes, and followed our laws. Now they need protection against this illegal activity. It has been almost 3 years this has happened to my mom. When I asked her what it felt like to hold $10,000 in cash and put it in an envelope to mail it, she said, "I don't remember. They had my mind. I didn't know what I was doing." There has not been a day in her life since those 10 days of June 2010 that has been normal for her. The outcome of this has been a nightmare. Not only has she lost her financial independence, her health has deteriorated. She has isolated herself, and she feels ashamed. These scammers not only took money from my mother, but her health and her spirit as well. On behalf of my mother and all of the senior citizens across our state who have fallen victim to this crime, I would like to urge you to support the passage of this bill to protect seniors from wire transfer fraud. We have a duty to create a safety net to question, delay, and stop our most vulnerable citizens from wiring away life savings. I never thought something like this would happen to my mother. Now I know it can happen to anyone. Anyone's mother, neighbor, or friend. We all need to pay more attention to our elders and to pass strong laws that will help them avoid frauds. Minnesota seniors are worth protecting. They are our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, and our grandfathers. They protected us when we were young, and now we need to protect them. Thank you.
And with that, folks, we'll take your questions.
Let me ask you, in this case with Peggy, what would your law do that would have helped her grandmother, or Peggy realized that something was amiss here?
And it's a great question. There's several pieces to this legislation. One is that, and as Special Agent Arlt will confirm, most of the times when these transactions are made, they're sent to a place and they're picked up elsewhere. That alone will scare off some of the scammers, because if they know that they can be caught where the transaction was wired to, they're not going to do it in the first place. And then in addition to that, there's also an opportunity to put people on a list so that they're not able to wire money. And that may well have been a situation for Peggy's mom. I did want to note, by the way, Peggy's situation started this when she emailed me a year and a half ago and followed up Special Agent Arlt. It just goes to show that folks here in Minnesota can get the ball rolling, and it bears mentioning that Minnesotans are particular targets for this sort of scam, because we in Minnesota and in the Midwest are fairly trusting people. And it's just our nature to try to want to help. So Minnesota is, when Special Agent Arlt and Peggy talk about this being a hotbed, it truly is. Among all of the states across the country, the scammers target Minnesota seniors even more than anybody else.
So essentially, just to make sure that I have this right, this bill would then require the money transferees. So you go into Western Union or Kmart or Walmart or whatever to transfer the money. They then have to send you an email telling you where that money was transferred to. Is that it? So it targets the money transferers?
It's even a little bit more explicit than that. It's that, let's say that you were going to send it to New York. If it was being attempted to be picked up elsewhere, any other place than where you sent it, you'd simply, as the sender, you'd get a notice of that. And you'd then have an opportunity to say, yes, I know that they're now in New Jersey and I still want the transaction to go through. It sounds so simple, but that's the crux of this legislation. And it's because the scammers don't want to go to where the money was supposed to be picked up, because they know that they might be caught there.
Well, it seems to me, and Jim, let me ask this of you, that if this is what the law would do, that it wouldn't be too long before the bad guys would figure out, well, I'll just set up my shell company in New York rather than Jamaica. And the money would go strictly to New York and all would seem fine, when in fact it's going into the wrong hands.
That is true until the point that the victimization is made aware of. And if we had this legislation in place, when I was working with victims, I could have turned around and sent money on their behalf after I had interceded with the victims, and had law enforcement at the other location follow the recipient of the money back to where they were operating out of. And so if the money was to go to North Bay, Ontario, I would have one of my friends up there follow them back, end up identifying who the group is that is conducting this, and then start their investigation on their end, be able to, just that quick, be able to end up identifying, start investigating it. But when you're working with victims who believe that the money is going to North Bay, Ontario, and it gets picked up in Vancouver or Montreal or anywhere else up in Canada, it makes it very, very hard for me to end up having a law enforcement person there to end up following it at home. The other thing is, if you have a grandparent emergency scam and little Johnny is in jail in North Bay, Ontario, but the money is being attempted to be picked up in Montreal, that should hopefully be enough to give more of a red flag to our senior citizens. Now, wait a second. Maybe I ought to check with little Johnny's parents first to make sure that Johnny is actually in jail up there.
The other thing is, as part of this legislation, it actually says that if the receiver is somebody other than who the person thought they were sending to, they get a notice back of who actually picked it up. And another unfortunate thing is this may happen more than once to somebody. Once somebody is shown to be vulnerable in this area, they go back to the same person. And often you're dealing with things like memory issues where they don't recall that this happened to them. So by having a list and keeping track of that now, the providers where they go and try and transfer from can say, wait a minute, this is, you're not somebody who should be doing this. So it has several different layers of protections in it.
And if I might, there was one point we failed to make, and that Special Agent Arlt has made many times to us, is that sometimes people kind of joke about this, and it's, it's the lottery scam, or it's actually much more organized than we ever imagined. And you may want to hear from Jim more about it, but it's organized crime is behind most of it. There's so much money in it now that the organized crime folks have moved into this, and particularly in Eastern Europe. And I believe in parts of Africa where they've, so my hope is that once we make the move towards doing something to protect Minnesotans, the word will get out that you're more likely to get caught and they'll target somebody else. But I was just amazed at the level of sophistication involved that Special Agent Arlt described for us.
How many other states have laws like this on the books already?
My understanding, I checked with the National Conference of State Legislators, and apparently we're the first. And shouldn't surprise you, since Minnesotans tend to be targeted more than anybody else.
And I first came to this issue because Senator Linda Scheid cared deeply about this issue, and she passed away, and then Joe came and asked if I would take it really in her memory. So I'm also proud to be working on something that I know she cared deeply on and was very engaged in.
My mother does not have dementia, and she kept very accurate records of everything she did. And so I have those records, and in some of those records, there were problems with the wire money transfer, and the phone numbers or whatever it was were changed. So this does happen. These people are smart. They're smarter than probably maybe we are. They know every loophole and exactly what to do. And so I don't think there's ever not going to be victims, but we have to do something to stop and put like red flags up so that we can stop some of this, and then eventually education.
How did your mom let you know that she was scammed? How did that, I mean, how'd that conversation go?
It caused a big family issue, and you know, right now I really don't want to get into that because I was unaware and somebody else was aware and didn't do what they needed to do. And I really don't want to get into that, but so I'm not here for that.
Folks, unless there's any other questions, about 10:30. I think some of us are able to stick around if you have individual questions, but otherwise the bill, I believe, gets it, well, I don't believe, it gets its first hearing this afternoon in the House Commerce Committee.
And tomorrow in the
And tomorrow in the Senate. So there you go. Thank you all very much for coming.